All right, guys, here's Jeff at MACkite.
And I'm Tucker.
And we're going to walk into the world of good wave wings that we sell.
What's the best one? What's our qualifications for what makes a good wave wing? How we're using them, which one might be right for you.
Yep.
If you're into that kind of thing, buckle up, hang on with us. Should be a fun discussion.
That's right. To set the stage, wings have come a long way in a short amount of time, especially in the last 2 years. So we're not going to mention, obviously, every brand that we sell in this video. Today we're trying to elevate the ones that kind of come to the surface for us that we enjoy on the waves.
Yeah.
That's not to imply that the ones we don't cover can't be good on waves and used on waves. But I just wanted to preface that a lot of wings are getting pretty good and checking off a lot of boxes on the market. But the ones that we're going to focus on today are the ones that we like to ride in waves, the ones that we would grab if we have a choice.
Yeah.
That we would grab. And I think it's important to share that this video is for anyone. We're not just pigeonholing this. You have to have huge waves that you're riding.
Right.
I think what's really cool about this sport and why so many people have gotten into winging is the feeling of riding the foil in waves. May it be in a reservoir, a lake wave, you know, our big lake swells, you know, to the ocean, any waterway that has a little bit of a wave and a bump. When you get that feeling of riding on a foil, I mean, it's something that really
special,
keeps you
man.
coming back for more.
Floating on clouds.
That's right. That's right. So, you know, the wings that we're going to cover, again, are wings that we've spent some time on.
Yep.
And we feel that they cover, I think, about 4 characteristics we look at a wave type of wing. Tucker, let's launch it. What are maybe the top one that we look at when we're looking at a good wave wing?
Yeah, I think first one, say Duotone float. It's actually a purpose-built wave wing.
Before we go that deep,
yeah,
I like how you just dived into that deepness of a brand. How about just characteristics, overall characteristics?
Oh, sorry, yeah.
So that way, when we talk about each of our wings, we're
I got it. What are our criteria? Why are we calling these wave wings? What are they
yes,
for?
what are we looking at in a wave wing? And then we'll dive into the float, which is one of my favorites.
Yeah, so for me, I think, you know, we've talked enough that I think you agree too. Criteria for a good wave wing, number 1, it has to have that stability in that well-behaved nature when it's depowered, when it's floated out, when it's luffed out, and it doesn't have a lot of power going through the sail. It's just kind of flagging there, we call it. Is it well-behaved that way? Do you have to put a lot of input in it to kind of control it and tell it what to do, or is it just kind of hang there where it's supposed to be naturally and make your life really easy where you don't need to think about the wing? I think that's number 1. Number 2, I would say light feeling. And it kind of goes hand in hand with the stability, but a light feeling wing doesn't have a lot of downward pressure. It's not jumping on you. It's not trapdooring and falling back. It's just a wing that kind of hangs there without much input. It doesn't mean it's light on the scale necessarily. The physical weight of it, I mean, it matters, but not as much, especially in good wind. It's how it flies in the wind when it's not powered up. Is it just hang there? Will it follow you? Does it want to trapdoor? Does it want to rock back and forth, side to side all the time? You know, what is it like there? Because some are better than others. Some cut into the wind, especially riding upwind. You get that induced drag on the wing. You have a really draggy wing. It can really hold you back like you're pulling an anchor through the wind. So that's a lot to kind of put on it, but really it's that light feeling, that intuitive feeling when the wing is luffed out, where you can kind of just hold it there and it behaves well. And then the last 2.
Well, before we go to the last 2, I think those first 2 are very important.
Yeah.
And the stability, I think you covered it well, where it feels well when you're flagging out, not only grabbing it by the leading edge handle, but pistol gripping or holding the handle itself. Because we know that our customers, as they progress into wave riding, when you're actually riding the foil on a wave versus the wing pulling you, you have those steps of comfort. You start first by just flagging out the wing, and so you don't have the power of the wing, so you're riding it, and then holding the front handle. We call that a pistol grip, or holding off the side, and then also at the very end. So these are wings that we feel do all those quite well, where it's not giving you that pull or that feedback. It's very stable. And then I like what you said about the lightness. Isn't about the high-end material. We're spending a lot of money for it, or the actual weight of it, but it's actually how it handles and it feels light in the hands. So 2 very big characteristics. Probably
those are the big ones.
Those are probably my 2 favorite high ones, but cover the next 2.
Yeah, next 2 I would say are wind range and upwind ability. So the wind range is just gonna, what's the effective range you can fly these in? The range that they're comfortable in. Do they start to get chaotic or out of behavior when it gets too windy? Is it too heavy feeling when it's too light? You know, that's gonna affect your range. Or also just physically how early you can get them up and how high you can ride them without getting completely out of control. So having a broader range allows you to do more things with the wing. If you have gusty conditions, it's gonna handle that better. If you have fewer wings in your quiver, it's going to cover more range. But then also, the faster you can get upwind, the more you can recycle and keep running that circuit, ripping that wave. So it's nice to be able to blast upwind. And generally, the wings that ride upwind really well also have a reduced drag through the canopy. If you're riding a wave upwind or cutting back to the wave, it's going to have less drag on that. So then you don't lose as much speed.
So when you added those two, we're asking a lot out of the wing.
Yeah, we are, man. That's a lot of stuff to ask of a designer of a wing.
Kind of loaded it up a little bit.
We want a
there.
unicorn, baby. We want all the things.
That is a lot to ask, but I do believe the wings that we're going to talk about, you know, we kind of did that in kind of order of importance too. As we get further down, like you said, the range is important. I think something to add to that, when we start riding waves, we really start getting into what foil we're using.
Yeah.
And so, you know, as you progress, as you want to choose a smaller foil, you may want to size up or know that this wave wing is going to be able to get you up on that foil should you fall or hit it, especially if you're on a big downwinder or you're riding the brake and you want to get up quick.
Yeah.
You know, you want these wings to have that low end grunt to pump up. And then you said something on the flip side of that, you know, when the wind picks up or you want to start heading upwind, which is the fourth one you put up, it has some drive upwind, you're able to get back up in the lineup quickly if you're not doing just a downwinder. But I think, you know, that is a lot to ask of a wing, but I feel the ones that we're going to cover today do fit that bill.
They do. They kill it in multiple different ways, and as you'll see in our discussion here, there's reasons to choose each one. I don't think we're ordering these in any way of favorite to least favorite. These are all fantastic in their own way, and they're all different in their own ways. So just depending on your conditions, your riding ability, the riding style you're doing in the waves, you know, there's reasons to choose each one.
Yeah, and as we go through these, we'll touch a little bit on some have an offering of a boom, others are just handle specific.
Yeah.
I think, you know, we're seeing kind of a movement with the handles with a longer front handle, which is kind of cheating that boom effect where you can do a one hand.
Almost a boom, yeah.
Yeah, where you can use the one hand to cheat it. So these are characteristics that we put into this group. Two, other than one, breaks that mold, which our customers will hear shortly which one does break that mold completely. But those are things to consider when you're looking at a wing like that, for sure.
Yeah. So do a little self-reflection. Think about what might be best for you and your riding style, or how you like to ride, or what characteristic is most important to you and what you're doing, and hopefully this will provide some insight as to what might be the next best wing for your next wave session.
Yeah, and before we dive into the four, I think something too of depending on where you ride, the size is going to be important. And generally speaking, you know, in your quiver, that would be at least one wing that you'd have maybe to fit this bill. So maybe you have a brand that we're going to talk about today, but you have a different model. I'm suggesting that with your wave, you might want to branch out of the model that you have and pick one of these from that same brand, because it'd be more specific and heighten your game in the waves. And picking the size can depend on what foil you generally like to ride in your local waves that you have. So for me, that's like a 3.5 or a 4 or 4.5, anything 4.5 and under. Typically, I like to ride when I'm riding waves. That's generally because of the wind we have, and the waves would dictate that size of a wing. Yep. But I know you say you like to maybe go a little bigger.
Yeah, I'd say 4 to 5.5 for me is my kind of key range for our conditions. I'm a little heavier than you. I tend to ride with a bit more wing. You know, out there, smaller foils, always going to help you out. And I'm also blending into the point now where I'm mixing in some wing-oriented maneuvers with my surfing. So I'm not just flagging the wing out, you're using the wing a bit more actively. And in those situations, a lot of times having a bit more power from the wing can help. If you know how to use it, and if it's the right wing for doing that, because some of the wings don't, you know, behave in that way quite as nicely as others. So that's another factor when you talk about like how you're riding, and like you said, choosing the right wing for each size, because, you know, while I might be using the wing more actively in the lighter wind, smaller wave situations, You know, if it's macking overhead in 3-meter conditions, I'm not probably using the wing quite as much. In those days, unless I'm just boosting over a section to not die, then maybe, but you're just not actively using the wing as much, so that, you know, tends to not matter as much at that point. But I like what you said, you know, not putting the blinders on and sticking with a single model for every size. Oftentimes when I find myself building my dream quiver, they're all different models. They might even be different brands, because I'm like, for light wind I want this, and that's what's important, so I'm going to buy that one. And my mid-range, I want this, and that's what's important for that, so I want this one. And then for the smallest one, I want that. Small. And they're all different criteria depending on what I'm asking the wing to do in those situations, or what's most important to me. And oftentimes it's different across those ranges, and it might be different at a different location too, so it's very dependent.
So we're having this conversation to help you kind of dive into, you're looking to get in a wing for wave. It's more than just picking the right maybe wing that we're going to suggest for you, but also the size, you know, again, considering your riding conditions, your skill, the foil you're riding, and obviously one we touched on a little bit, if you're just downwinding, you may want to go think about not being stranded out there. So you don't want to go too undergunned, because you're typically not going to be heading upwind with it, so you can flag it out easy in that. So with that, we'll launch into this with one that I have 2 different sizes in my car right now.
Yeah.
The 3.5 and the 4.5, and that's the Duotone float. And one, I think they nailed it with the name of the wing.
Definitely, it's aptly named. It's got great direction. You know, it's a wave wing, and that's pretty much all they say about it. They're like, yeah, it free rides well, but it's a wave wing. And I think they nailed it with that. You know, it's light, it's intuitive, it's stable. It covers a decent range. I would say it's a bit more grunty than most of the other wings we're going to talk about today. So if you're somebody that likes to fly the smallest possible wing, the float is a great choice for that. If you're familiar with the Duotone lineup, I like to say it's got the power of a unit, but it acts more like a slick in terms of its stability. And it's a nice mashup of those two. Yeah, the unit can get a little funky when it's overpowered. It definitely flips over a lot if you leash out. And then the slick was a quick, high-performance free-ride wing. It surfed quite well as well. That was my favorite wing in their lineup. Now they're not making it anymore, so now the float's my favorite. And it's a bit more surfy and lightweight and well-behaved than the slick even, but certainly a nice step up in terms of intuitive use for surf as compared to the unit.
Yes, and I get some hours logged on it from some lighter winds, which is typically, sometimes we get a little bit of wave, or the wind, when we have waves, the wind will drop off. And I did find the low end to be helpful. It pumps up on the foil real easily. And yes, the word float, I mean, it just sits there and floats. I mean, you can, even if you have to do some tacks or above the head or around or maneuver it around, it just kind of doesn't, like, it's not there.
Yeah, it's an easy wing.
Easy wing, and it does come with full boom. There's no handles on it.
Yep.
And I think, again, I like some of the benefits of the boom versus the handles. I'm more of a handle guy generally, but I do like the boom and the fact that you can cheat yourself when you're riding a wave. If you need that little oomph to get over to poach another one, you can kind of pitch it, power off, power on, power on, power off, to get you around. So I think the float kind of checks off that real well.
Yeah, it's not a must-have for me. No. It's cool to sometimes have it in an underpowered situation. You can one-hand it and do different things. But for me, the big thing was they wanted it lighter. Yeah. And building in extra stanchions and reinforcements, and that's just going to add to the weight of the wing. Yeah. So it's kind of a no-brainer to throw boom on this one since weight was such a priority. And
I think their price kind of not real low or real high, kind of right there in the middle.
Yeah,
so a decent price point with the build of the float. And it's a wing that I've really enjoyed riding on swell and even shore break water, shore break type wave. It does everything that I like. It's got the light feel or the word float to it. It's stable. I would say in regards to low end power, we've hit that pretty well. It's got that low end grunt. And then the fourth one, driving upwind, I would say that it's kind of in the middle.
Yeah, it's just average, a touch maybe above a little average. Better than average. Yeah. I would say the one thing it doesn't do well, in my experience, is riding massively overpowered. Mm-hmm. It'll ride a little overpowered. It's more comfortable than the unit overpowered, I would say, but it's not one of those wings where you're going to fly a 5 and 30. is just too much at that point. It's got too much grunt.
Yep.
It's going to become too physical to fly and kind of out of control at that point.
I would agree with that. And there's one thing that it still does that kind of been part of the Duotone family. When you do wreck and fall and you can't get your wing right away, it flips over on its belly like a little dog, you know?
Yeah, like a good dog. Rub my belly.
You're like, no, I don't want you
You
to flip
get on
over.
the leash. You think you're going to take it for a walk? Nope.
It does. You know, I love Duotone. I love their wings. We sell a lot of them.
Yeah.
That is one thing. Even the float, it does everything real well, but then it just wants to go.
Just got to hang on to it, man. You got to hold it by the collar,
Exactly.
or by the front of the boom handle when you fall. If you let it leash out, she's gonna roll over and want some tummy rubs. So, you know, it's just something to be aware of. It's not just Duotone. It's any wing with a lot of dihedral in the shape is going to do that. So it comes with the territory, and
It is.
we just like to.
That's
pick
just
on-
honest. I
pick
have
on
to be honest
Duotone.
about a little bit about the whole thing. We talked it up. I love it. Like I said, I've got 2 in my car. So when I pull up to the
On
beach,
the upside, it doesn't do the thing where it launches and crashes
Slams
because it
into the
rolls
water.
over and then it's
Yeah.
just stuck to the water.
it's docile.
So maybe it's a built-in safety feature.
Yeah. Thank you, Duotone, for that safety feature there.
Always thinking
Appreciate
about
it. That's right.
safety. Yeah.
So yeah, that's one. What's the second?
Yeah, so second, I think we got to talk about the Reedin Supernatural. Last year, it was kind of our wing of the year.
Yeah.
And it sort of came out of nowhere. Obviously, we've always loved Reedin and their products, but it really took a giant leap forward last year in terms of its design, its build quality, just the overall performance you get from this wing. It's got to be one of the best wings in our offering for doing everything. It's efficient, it's fast upwind, it got really nice stable handling, and just one of those wings you hang on to it on the beach and you're like, dang, this thing is just like a feather in your hand. It feels so light, it feels so balanced, like you forget about it when you're riding a wave. And that's something special compiled with that performance, you know. So if you're looking to burn some speed runs and get back upwind quick and then just cruise and glide on waves and rip, it's a great wing to do all of those things, and it blends some of that performance that other wings have a difficulty doing. In the past, at least, you know, it's you have your fast wings and you got your surf wings, and they're totally different things. But man, it really blends that performance, and I'm really enjoying the 2025 with some of the improvements it made.
Yeah, I finally I've been hoarding it a little bit. I'm a
you
big
have.
Reedin fan. I've had all their sizes, but I think it is not a dedicated as a wave wing, but it definitely has the characteristics we're looking for.
Yeah.
It doesn't. The materials aren't high end where you spend extra money to make it feel like it necessarily doesn't weigh light, but it flies very light, very playful.
One of the lightest feeling wings.
Yes.
in the
Very
entire
playful.
industry. Yeah.
It crosses off that. It flags out smooth, docile, drives upwind. I mean, for a wing that's as good in a wave, there's trade-offs with wave wings. I mean, in the market right now, sometimes with that, if you might not drive upwind as well, but it will flag out and be docile. And then the other one there too is that low end. I think, yeah, it pumps.
It's accessible on the low
Yeah,
end,
you
yeah.
have to. There is a
Find
little
the spot.
You have to find its spot for that. That's the only, I wouldn't call it a knock, but one thing to
sweet
look at.
spot, yeah.
The sweet spot.
After an hour or two of riding, you know right where it is.
You do.
It's very easy, but
Yep, to pump to get up onto foil. So yeah, that definitely is one that I enjoyed a lot last year riding waves. It was the one I chose to pick a lot for wave riding. One little knock, I wouldn't say knock, but thing that I would change with it, I know they've got a nice little bumper on the end of it that's soft on the handle where you hold it or pistol grip it. You know, that's to protect the board, or, you know, when it crashes. It sometimes can feel you can lose a little bit of the navigation with it because it's loose. That's really being picky. I do
it's
like
not
how
quite
they
as tight on the response, but
Yeah.
you can remove it. You can cut it off. You can slide it off the end. So if you don't like it, pull it off.
Yeah, so that's kind of being nitpicky.
Spray a little glue in there, maybe.
There you go.
Stick
Keep
it on.
keep it in its place. But I do like the handles, how they have the articulation.
Yeah.
And you know, I think you've said it before, and maybe an earlier review, that they're kind of set into the strut, so you really feel connected to the wing.
You're right in
and
the wing,
responsive.
yeah.
Yeah, right in the wing. I like how you
Being
said that.
positioned, it's like a skate deck, right? With a concave, you're really in it. You gain some leverage there. You definitely gain a certain amount of just feel from
It's like an
a wing
extension
when it's in there.
of
Yeah, and you
what
gain,
you're-
rather than just a straight boom here, having a little bit of that, indexes your wrist nicely, but it also just gives you a point of leverage when you're moving the wing. If you have a little angle in that, just gives you more of that leverage to send the wing where you want it and really feel those small, fine details that allow you to do things that are ordinarily sort of awkward.
Yep. And again, a word that I think we've used already with it is playful and intuitive. Very intuitive, playful, easy to engage with and use, and love it on the waves. And some of the swell we had last summer, I was on the smaller sizes and just absolutely ate it up.
Sells itself on the beach, right? Like if
does.
you hand it to a friend on the beach, you're like,
yeah, especially walking
what
into
the
the water.
heck? Like,
yeah, it just
this
sits
thing's
there.
on like auto fly right now, right? Like, it's crazy.
Very nice, which we like in our wave wings. So the third one is probably going to be no surprise to being a wing that can do well in waves, and that would be Cabrinha.
Yeah.
Cabrinha came right out of the market with their Mantis, which we've sold a lot of.
Probably more than any other wing in the U.S., to be honest. There's a
Yes.
ton of Mantis out there. They're a great wing. They got good range. They surf well.
Yep.
Arguably,
learn on
in
them.
recent years, they've gotten heavier than in the past.
Yeah.
And that's just a trend in the industry in general if you're not buying a Lula, I think, because more stuff is going into them. The materials are getting more robust. You have more bells and whistles, it weighs more. But yeah, they kind of took the opposite route with the air. Spelled
Yeah, so it's
A-E-R.
not the mantra.
The
The
Mantis,
Mantis that
yeah.
we're focusing on for this, but I just want to set the stage that they've had a decent wave wing, but now the air.
Wave pedigree, honestly, like from
Yeah.
kite surfing and everything, and going back in the day, they've always been one to look for wave performance.
They sure
it's been a
have.
focus, and it hasn't gone away with winging. It's definitely a primary focus for the brand, I think.
So it was kind of a surprise for me when this year, kind of groundbreaking, they came out with a new model that kind of scaled everything back to simplicity.
Less is more.
Less is more.
Volkswagen Beetle.
That's right, with the air, spelled A-E-R.
Yeah.
And I think properly named because it is just like air, just so light. That's what they designed it
It's a freak. Yeah, you look at it and you go, oh man, it's so light, and you're like, man, is it going to be stiff? Is it robust? Is it just tissue paper? And nope, you pick that thing up and it's solid, and it's got great materials. It's robust, but the price is so slashed. So it's just an accessible, great wing. One of the better wings in terms of behavior on the wave. Nothing else considered, that it's one of the best for that, I would say.
I would agree, and I would like to emphasize the fact of its price point. It's probably one of the
Under $1,000. It's hard to find
lower
nowadays.
under. Yeah, it's one of the lower price points, and it does have more of the old school handles. Very simple,
soft
lightweight,
handles.
soft handles, kind of
Old
like the
F1 style.
F1. Yep.
And the overall feel of those are kind of old school F1-ish. Very
It is.
light and intuitive and just floaty.
Well balanced.
If you have an F1, V1, or V2,
Yeah.
and you love it,
The
try
air.
a Cabrinha Air. It's
Yes.
definitely got that flavor.
It does, and I feel it's really well balanced. They have equal balance with the backhand and front hand
Yep.
when you're on the new air, and
Yeah, it's positioned right? The handles have an apex. If it's not positioned right, it's weird on soft handles to try to grab somewhere it's not supposed to be.
Yeah.
But it's balanced great. Where do you grab it? Right in the center of the handles. That's where they need to be, and that's where it feels great.
So in our 4 areas of criteria, I think it ranks up the highest with the lightness feel.
Yeah,
For sure.
lightness and stability.
And then stability, the two biggest ones. I think the other two, low end, I think was fine.
Yeah, low end's great. High end is compromised for
I would
sure.
say
I wouldn't
the
want to
hi-
ride it massively overpowered, but I would say it's not bad. It's still middle of the road in terms of top end range for its size. You're not going to want to fly 5 when everyone's on 4s.
And again, we're asking a lot from a wave wing here because we're kind of stretching it. I mean, with wing, but
And the upwind's mediocre. I mean, it's okay.
Yeah, I would say
average.
mediocre,
Not
average.
bad. I'm not upset at it.
no. And typically with a wave wing, unless you're just staying at your local break, they are intended to be riding waves for a while. So upwind ability isn't one of the characteristics you're trying to just build into the wing. But we're seeing in the market these wings
a
are
nice
getting
detail to have.
pretty good on a lot of levels. So the Air, definitely one to check out, especially for the price point.
Yeah.
For some of the wings we sell, you could get 2 or maybe 3.
Yeah, and if you're
at least
traveling, you
for
can
the price
travel
of
with
one.
3 rather than 1.
Yep.
And same weight, same physical space. So that's a thing. And compared to a lot of wings, I mean, you can buy 2 or 3 of
That's
these
what
for
I'm
the
saying.
price
2.
of 1.
2 for the price of 1.
So that's pretty fantastic. And then they're also made in really tiny sizes. So
Yeah.
if you're after a really small size and you can't find a wing, check out the Cabrinha Air. They make them down to 1 meter sizes.
Yeah.
So if you're trying to teach a toddler or you're just riding that crazy a
Or a
wind,
huge downwind there
and
with tons of wind.
yeah, just going into the horizon, one-way ticket. This could be the wing.
Well, and I think it was the wing that you were on when I saw you peel off and go about a mile down the beach with it.
Yeah.
It was just like you
Trailing
could put- you
behind
could-
me.
Yeah, you could put it anywhere
I
you
didn't even want
want.
to put it in front of me because
Yeah.
I was blasting so hard. I just put it behind me and it would just it would hang
which
behind
is
me.
unique.
And not a lot of wings do that. It'd be dragging, or it'd be grabbing a tip and getting in your way and being weird. So I was stoked on that day. Downwind swell, downwind. Just to be able to keep it behind me, and as long as you kept moving pretty quick, it was happy to hang.
That's
back
what
there.
I noticed, and it was a larger size. We had the 5,
was
I
the
think.
5, yeah,
Yeah, and
so
I
that
was
was
shocked.
something.
It felt like a lot smaller wing when you're holding on to it. So definitely the Air is 3 of the 4. And what is the last one that we pulled into our riding here?
Yeah. So the last one, this one's quite a bit different than the others in the lineup in that it's going to offer you that high level powered riding experience and also wave performance, which is again a hard thing to grasp. And I would say, as compared to the Reedin Supernatural, this takes it even a step further in terms of that speed and upwind ability. That's the Flux V2 from Ozone. They also make this an Ultra X Alula construction if you really want the lightest, stiffest, highest performance option. But the standard construction is really fantastic as well. And both are just phenomenal in the surf. They're well behaved. They feel extremely light. If you're riding upwind or offshore conditions kinds of things, it's one of the best choices because it is
Speed.
silky through the wind, into the wind. It doesn't have a lot of downhand pressure. It's really sleek, doesn't have a lot of drag into the wind. So if you're looking to combine kind of the wave performance and the high performance free ride or even race level, this is a good wing to do it. If you're out there riding tiny foils and you really need a wing that has a lot of range to it, this is definitely a good option for that. Personally, I'm really liking this wing in the waves because I'm starting to use the wing more often, more actively in the surf. So rather than just carrying it around with me and letting it drag around behind me or holding it above my head, now you're using the wing more actively to create speed, to create lift, to carry your weight in certain maneuvers. Almost like a windsurf sail when you see those guys at Hokipa or whatever, and they're dragging over the lip and doing some wing outs and things like that and just bashing the lip. You can do some of that stuff with the wing as well, and I think that's really where a lot of the progression is moving. And we'll probably have a video on this soon, but how to expand, your wing surfing experience and what next, right? Like if you're in 3-foot waves,
like
how much progression really is there? You can make these cool turns, you can get the foil out and rip little turns, but at some point you kind of hit a plateau unless your conditions are up to the snuff. So adding the wing as a source of power, as a way to increase what you can do with the foil is really exciting, and I think that's what you're seeing at the pro level a lot right now.
It actually becomes like a dance partner.
Yeah, right?
No, or
Yeah.
like ballet.
Try swing dancing by yourself, Mr. Jeff. It doesn't go too hot.
It doesn't.
It just looks like ugly ballet.
But this, I'm glad we pulled this wing into discussion because it's not necessarily high on the wave side or marketed that way, but it is a wing that I know when they came out with the Flux V1, it was in the summertime. We all went out and
Wave session.
session on it, and we were flagging out, riding so much that I actually got a little skin off on my knuckle.
Because you got upwind so fast. You're riding twice as many waves downwind.
That is where this one definitely excelled. I mean, of our 4, we put that one kind of last with our wave wing, but that one, it's very speedy, high energy, fast, wing to ride. So, and now with the V2 and then with the Ultra X they just taken all those characteristics and kind of just bumped it up. So,
It'll allow you to ride a smaller foil because you can ride a bigger wing. In terms of top end range, if you have gusty, crappy conditions, this is going to handle that and smooth it all out. If you're in big, nasty conditions and you need to hold down a bigger sail because you need a smaller foil, this is the type of wing that you want for that. Or if you're just the type of person where you're like, hey, I like to ride waves, but I also like to go race my friends on beer league Thursday night, or I like to be able to blast past my buddies. you know, this is a wing that's going to allow you to do that as well.
Yeah, and not to pick at it, but we've actually, every wing, we like to be honest about every wing that we ride. Is there something that's maybe not quite as good in our criteria? I would say for this one, it probably doesn't feel quite as light and playful as some of the other ones we've talked about. Very close. But that would be my personal opinion, little bit, just a little bit.
If you adjust the scale for the size you ride in certain wind, I think that's the change. Mm-hmm. If you're riding a 4 and a 4, you're not powered up enough on the Flux. It wants to ride powered. Yeah. It's not going to feel as lively and light if it's underpowered. This is a wing where if you're on a 4 meter air, you're probably going to be on a 5 meter Flux, because that is going to help showcase its performance better. If you don't have enough airflow moving through the canopy on this wing, it's not going to be as fun. You don't want to ride this wing underpowered. It's not a light wind wing. It's made to be ridden lit. So if you're not riding it that way, you're not taking advantage of it.
And I think you explained it well. It's more sporty, something you're going to push and do different things when the wave, like I said, a dancing partner that you're going to become an extension of some of the things you do on a wave. That would be the one that would be good for that. So
yeah, and it doesn't float itself maybe quite as easily when it's underpowered as some of the other wings. But what I would say about that is if you're riding this wing, you're probably at the level where you know how to handle the wing. Mm-hmm. You don't need the wing to do everything for you. Mm-hmm. So it's a minor detail to adjust to, and then it's a more technical wing to fly in the waves, but there's a lot of benefit.
A lot of benefit. I like the way you said that, and like I said, we're trying to push a lot of expectation into this category. And
these are the best of the best, man. I mean, we're talking about some small details between them. Yeah,
we are. We're kind of nitpicking, but it's important that we get to ride a lot of different wings, a lot of different models. And we haven't talked about other wings that could have fit in this category, but these are the ones we just wanted that we felt kind of rose to the top a bit.
Yeah, they excel in some certain way, whether it's stability or high speed or price or mixed performance or whatever it might be. These are some real highlights. Yeah. That's not to say there aren't great other wings out there that might fit somebody's specific situation better than these even. But these are the ones that we tend to be grabbing the most, that we tend to be enjoying the most, and we find meet those needs at those levels. That
we look for a wave wing. And then we know we've probably ruffled a few feathers a little bit here today, because we know we have people that I always tell people, no matter what wing you have in your hand, it does come down to skill and what you get used to.
Yeah.
And a lot of riders, obviously a lot of guys, women and men who are listening to this, that ride waves a lot may not have one of the ones we just said and kill it on the waves. So it really does, the wave.
Really good rider can make a trash bag look awesome. It doesn't mean everybody should be riding a trash bag.
No, that's a good point. And these wings do make the experience very nice.
They do. It can help a pro rider level up. I would say more importantly, it can take an average mediocre rider and apply to their situation, can really level up their experience and give them something that they can't overcome with their skill, which is just going to make your riding more fun, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's one less distraction, because when you are riding waves, to have a wing that's compliant, that does the 4 things that we're looking for, feels light in the hands.
Although there's no excuses, so when you come back to the parking lot with your buddies, there's nothing you can blame it on, man. But nowhere to hide.
I will say from personal experience, though, when you have a wing that does all that, it is less of a distraction. It works with you, and you can focus on the foil, focus on the wave.
Opens up your mind and your eyes to look at what the wave is doing and the lines you can draw, and then go draw them without being held back. Because if you're trying to go run upwind at that thing, and you got an anchor on your hand, and you go, now I stalled. Oh, now I got a wave on the head.
Like, or a wing that likes to just fall in front of you when you're holding it. It wants to get in your way.
That's a problem. I've ridden some bigger surf wings where the boom is just so long. Yeah. It falls in front of you, and that thing will straight trip you up. Yeah. There's no way around it. I mean, you better be holding it up. Otherwise, if it trapdoors on you, game over. Yeah. Good night.
Good night. So I think we covered it quite well. These are the 4 that kind of we would pick. Of the ones.
I'd be pretty happy to grab any of them. Honestly,
Me too.
They're all pretty fantastic.
Me too.
In a wide variety of ways, and reach beyond just wave performance, which I think is important to say. Especially coming from like kiteboarding, where your wave wings were good for waves.
Wave kites?
In foiling, in kiteboarding. Sorry, wings.
No, that's all right.
But then, you could never do big air on a surf kite. Yeah. But you can take a wave wing and go race your buddies. And if you're good, you beat them in a race. If you're into freestyle, you can take a wave wing into the freestyle realm and go do your thing if you know what you're doing. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't hold you back that much, but if you're looking really to optimize your wave performance, these are some wings that can definitely take it next level.
So there you have it. If you have any questions, you could give us a call, shoot us a chat, email. Be happy to help you out with some of these options. Maybe we made you think a little outside the box. You have a brand with all the same models, and you're like, maybe I should be thinking about branching over to their more wave-focused wing. Not to say the wing couldn't do anything else.
Optimize your quiver for the type of riding you're doing in that range. You know, my light wind criteria for a good wing is a lot different than my high wind or even my wave wing or whatever. So whatever conditions you're dealing with, whatever challenges you have, there's usually a right choice to help you optimize that. So hopefully this helped with some of you guys. If you disagree with us, let us know in the comment section below. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are, because we're definitely not the end-all discussion on this. Always open ears to other ideas and things like that. But
we do ride a lot of wings.
We do, and we talk to a lot of people, and these are
of
consistently
brands.
some of the wings that we're most excited to ride,
Yep.
that some of our customers are most excited to ride and enjoying the most. So there you have it.
That's the feedback we get. So, hey, again, hopefully this helps you out a little bit as you begin to progress in your wing journey and you're getting into wave riding. Check out one of these on our website. Give us a call. Be happy to steer you in the right direction.
Yeah,
Again,
join the wave crowd.
That's right.
The wave tribe.
Right on, right on. It's been Jeff from MACkite.
And Tucker.
Enjoy the stoke.
See you next time.